This video is not going to teach you how to be the best spy, but how to be an effective spy. And one thing I would like to clear up right off the bat is that the spy is a support character. He's not the one you're going to see always capturing the capture points or stealing the intelligence. He's going to be the one who's hopefully messing up the other team, causing confusion, distracting them, just causing all around chaos. Hopefully even changing their strategy around from a rush tactic to a defensive tactic. Now, what you see going on in the background is mostly just the loadout of the spy. I'm going to be going over a lot of the basic tips and tricks to be an effective spy, as well as how to use the basic loadout, the dead ringer, the ambassador, and the eternal reward. Now, as you can see here, the spy has different weapons to choose from. He has his primary weapon, which is usually the revolver. He has his knife, which is probably what you're going to be using the most, as well as the sapper, which is going to be taking out mostly engineer buildings and constructions. And then you have the disguise kit that you see here, which you're probably going to use quite a bit. I would actually recommend at the beginning of a match, as you can see here, disguising yourself as a teammate class just to kind of throw off the other team. Now, the one class you're probably going to hate the most as a spy is going to be the Pyro. They will literally be the bane of your existence. And the reason being is because their flamethrower basically ignites you even if you're cloaked, revealing you to anybody else in the playing field, and definitely making your job a hell of a lot harder. Also, make sure when you decloak not to do it too close to the enemy, because usually it's a dead giveaway that you're right behind them. Now on to the most important part of being a spy, and that is acting like the opposing team. Now, if you do it correctly, like you see here, you'll be healed by enemy medics, and you'll notice that the opposing team will not be killing you as often because they think you're one of them, making it much easier for you to backstab them in turn. Now, there's a few key things to remember to seal this deception. For starters, when you're disguised as a certain class, kind of be in an area where it would make sense for that class to be at. You don't want to be disguised as an engineer and then running on the front lines with the rest of the opposing team. It generally doesn't make much sense at all. Also, tend to keep your back turned to the opposing team. This is kind of a leap of faith, but 9 times out of 10 it'll pay off, especially if your own team is shooting at you. It'll basically make them think that you're one of them being targeted, and you're trying to get away, and you're trying to survive like the rest of them, making it much easier for you to betray that trust, backstab them, sap an engineer building, steal the intelligence, or basically go about whatever plans you have. I mean, after all, as a spy, the whole point of being a spy is deception, getting the backstabs, and just causing all around mayhem and chaos to mess up the other team. One of my favorite things is counter-espionage. Like that scout you saw just there is actually a spy, and it's pretty obvious because when you disguise as the scout, you will never run as fast as that scout will. And as you can see here, the Pyro is kind of hanging out in the shadows, and that's something a Pyro never really does. Usually out and about burning stuff. And before, as one of the other spy Pyros did, went straight for the buildings. You also don't want to stand around like this spy here to where I was able to piss him off so he's able to get shot by the turret. This spy, however, did a pretty good job of trying to get away when he was in a bad situation. However, I knew he wasn't actually going to travel very far, so I pulled out my dead ringer and tried to coax him out of hiding, which it actually worked rather well. And the only mistake he did was first thinking I was actually dead, and 2, going in the same disguise as before. You generally don't want to go in the same disguise if you've already been seen. So I tried to take a few jabs at him, missed, and decided to whip out the ambassador and take a shot and kill him. Now, generally when sapping engineer constructs, you want to do it when there's usually nobody around or while the engineer is preoccupied. And also make sure that you're in disguise, otherwise level 3 turrets will usually light you up. Now, here I kind of took a risk. And generally, if you're going to do something like this, make sure to quickly sap the constructs and then run away as soon as you can. Now, the pistol may not be very accurate, but it can shoot surprisingly long distances, as you saw just then. But generally, as a rule of thumb, use it either to finish off an opponent or use it during a time of panic, basically if you have no other options. Something you should do from time to time is capture an enemy point or steal the enemy intelligence. This generally throws off the other team, causes them to panic, and their first reaction is to find and kill you, giving your team the opportunity to do whatever it is they want to do in retaliation, as well as the fact that it's actually a lot easier than people think, especially when you cloaked behind enemy lines or are disguised. Now, the only reason why I would recommend the original invisibility watch over the cloak and dagger is because it makes you think more on your feet due to its limited amount of use. So generally when you're using the original invisibility watch, you want to go to an area where you won't be seen, decloak, and then backstab the enemy when they least expect it. The dead ringer is great for making the opposing team think that you're dead when you're actually not, but the only way to use it is to have it out to where you cannot attack, but the second they hit you is when the cloak goes into effect. But I find it very effective, especially when using your eternal reward. The only downside to your eternal reward is you do not have the ability to do your own disguise. You basically only disguise as whoever the last person you killed is. So it's kind of a drawback for some. Thank you for watching this guide. Hopefully it helps you out the next time you decide to play as a spy. And as an added bonus, I leave you with a video of me backstabbing a lot of people. Enjoy.
Just lay your weapons down and walk away.